Welcome everybody to a informational webinar being hosted by PALCUS. My name is Angela Simoes, and we're very happy to have Sandra Gomes Pinto from Portugal here. We have worked with Sandra and her team before on webinars, and some of our members that have chosen to work with her have been very happy with her team's work, and so we are confident in working with her team to provide this information today about new changes in Portuguese citizenship law. I know that lots of people have questions about, is it going to affect their current application that's going through the process? And, I'm planning on moving. There's lots of questions, and so her team will answer those. But just wanted to say thank you for joining us. Welcome. And of course, if you found this informational webinar helpful and would like to see other informational webinars on other topics, whether it's from Sandra's team or other topics, please send an email to palcus@palcus.org. And of course, we encourage you all to become members so that the membership dues keeps our organization going and we can host these webinars for free for you. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to, I think, Marisa to do the introductions. And I'm going to go off camera so as not to be a distraction here. But thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Marisa.
Yes,
Thank you to your
thank you,
team.
Angela. Yes, and thank you for the introduction. So I'd like to welcome everyone who has joined our webinar session. We will be covering all the recent updates on the new law here in Portugal and everything you need to know. So before we begin, I would also like to inform our audience who are new here that we will be offering a free initial consultation. So be sure to email us or send us a message. We will drop our contact details in the chat, and we would love to talk to you personally. So the code, you can use the code SGP or Partner to Moving to Portugal. And we will also put the link of our YouTube channel, so be sure to subscribe as we regularly post updates and content. So before we begin, a quick introduction. My name is Marisa Colasso, and I'm part of the team at SGP Sandra Gomes Pinto Associates. And to introduce Dr. Sandra herself, she is a practicing lawyer with over 30 years of experience in Portugal, supporting international clients with relocation, investments, litigation, and other legal matters. She has also spoken globally on Portuguese visas, investment opportunities in Portugal, litigation, and arbitration. And she has also lectured in one of the top 50 law universities in the world in Heidelberg. So, Dr. Sandra, to begin, could you tell us more about yourself, your firm, and what it is that you do?
So I'm a lawyer in Portugal for over 30 years. I work for a big firm for over 20 years. In the last 10 years, I focused on my own practice. And from day one, we focused on international clients. I've been speaking also globally about litigation, arbitration, international cases, moving to Portugal, tax incentives in Portugal, visas, all those matters, but always very connected to the Americans moving to Portugal, Canadians, British, and we also have been assisting and helping those with the Americans with Portuguese heritage. We have assisted over hundreds and hundreds of cases of citizenship and also visas. I think we have a YouTube channel and you have lots of useful information about moving to Portugal, which can be important for many of the audience. And we have also webinars on international inheritance, which is a big team for those that come from PALCUS. We have had a lot of clients from this organization, and we have been helping also a lot of people with the citizenship application. The law in Portugal about the citizenship application just changed, and we consider that it's important to clarify and to make people understand that probably these changes won't impact their position, but if they want to move to Portugal or if they want to apply for Portuguese citizenship, it would make sense to do it sooner than later.
Mm-hmm. And Dr. Sandra, you have also helped more than 500 people and families relocate to Portugal and with their citizenship applications. So this is definitely your area of expertise. So I would also encourage our viewers to send in their questions through the chat. We want to make this an interactive session, so we will be happy to answer your questions. So to dive into some of the most common questions we get, could you start, Dr. Sandra, with telling us about the recent changes to Portugal's nationality law, and what does it mean for people who are looking towards this path?
I think it's very important to clarify that these new changes impact those that want to obtain Portuguese citizenship through naturalization, through legal residency in Portugal. And the big difference is previously it was necessary 5 years of legal residency to acquire Portuguese citizenship, and now for the non-Europeans it is required 10 years. And also it becomes important to show that people are integrated with the Portuguese community and also know the history, the culture, the basic legal principles. And with this, Portugal is only following international criteria. But it's very important to clarify that those with Portuguese ancestry that want to obtain Portuguese citizenship or those that want to obtain Portuguese citizenship through marriage are not affected at all by this law. As also all the expat community that is residing in Portugal, in their daily life, in their rights, legal rights and liberties, won't be impacted by this law. They can still attend the Portuguese schools, they can attend the Portuguese national healthcare system, they can still renew their visas without any difficulty or limitation.
Mm-hmm. And just a question from our chat. From Joseph, I have asked when registering a question regarding the agreement between Portugal and Brazil. So I think by this he means the applicable law that he would follow.
Yes, if he comes from a country that speaks Portuguese, the years for naturalization are not 10, but it will be 7 according to this new law.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I understand the question, but Joseph, if it's something too specific, come back to us and outside of this topic, we will be more than glad to answer your question.
Mm-hmm. And a question from Linda Brown. Can you contact me? I am planning to move to my house in Portugal. Is this something you help with?
Yes, of course. If you want to have permanent come here and reside here for more than 6 months a year, of course I can help you. It will be important to understand if you have Portuguese citizenship or not. But if you also need a visa, we've helped assisted hundreds of Californians and other Americans to acquire a visa status in Portugal.
Mm-hmm. A question from Claudia Salazar. Hello, does any of these changes affect the process for spouses of Portuguese citizens?
No, they won't be affected. The documentation, the rights, the requirements will remain the same. They were not at all. Those that want to acquire Portuguese citizenship through marriage will not be impacted in any way by this new law.
Mm-hmm. And now coming to the next question. A lot of people talk about this day 0 and when their timeline starts to their citizenship application. So can you tell us when exactly does the clock start ticking for the new 7 or 10-year residency requirement?
The law starts ticking by the time of issuance of the physical resident permit card. So in 2024, there was a change, an amendment to the law saying that the clock would start ticking by the time when people initiated their application. Now this law, they clarify that the clock will start ticking by the time of issuance of a resident permit card.
Mm-hmm. And a question from the chat. A question from Keith Blosser, our client. Can you briefly describe the best recommended first 2 or 3 steps to take to start the process?
The process to acquire, which process? To acquire Portuguese citizenship?
I think it would
Yes, I think if you come to Portugal and you intend to acquire Portuguese citizenship, I think it would be important to start learning the language in a formal way, because it's required to have a basic level of the language, an A2 level of Portuguese, and start to integrate in the community and start to know the basics of history, culture, and Portuguese legal system. I would say these would be the first most important steps.
Mhm. Another question from an anonymous attendee. I have dual citizenship, American and Brazilian. Is it better or easier to apply for immigration as American or Brazilian?
Definitely as Brazilian, because as Brazilian you just need 7 years of legal residency, and you are waived the necessity of the A2 level of Portuguese. So definitely as a Brazilian, it's an easier path to acquire Portuguese citizenship.
And coming to the next question regarding AIMA, how do the current AIMA processing delays practically impact the overall timeline for these new applicants?
It delays the timeline. So people have to wait for the AIMA process, and then later they received the resident permit card, and only by the time they receive the resident permit card, the clock starts ticking to the 5 year to the 7 years or 10 years threshold to acquire Portuguese citizenship.
So the time that you would spend before getting the card would not count.
No, it doesn't count according to the wording of the law that entered into force in May 2026.
And how does the law differentiate between time spent physically in Portugal versus time in lawful residence status?
So I think this is a little bit an ambiguous question. I believe that what the legislator wants is that people actually reside in Portugal. So it's more than a legal status of residency. I think they want actual presence in Portugal, but this is still, we'll have to understand very well how the authorities will interpret it in practical, and the jurisprudence in practical terms. I think the intent of legislator is that people are actually residing in Portugal and not only have a legal status, but we'll have to see exactly how this will be interpreted by the Portuguese authorities and also by the courts.
And another question from Linda Brown. Do you help with visas?
Yes, we do. We've helped hundreds of Americans with visas to reside in Portugal, Americans, Canadians, British.
And just as a reminder, you can get in touch with us. You can contact us directly. We have dropped our contact details in the chat, so you can always send us an email regarding your specific case. And another question from Sandra Carapinha. Can you talk about the language exam and the new cultural and historical piece? When will this new exam start? And will it continue to be an A2 level?
So the A2 level is the one that existed previously. So it is required that you have the basic conversational skills as you would have in a first certificate of English, the basic interpretation of a text, and the basic capacity of simple conversations. It's a basic level. It's not something very developed. It's not very advanced. It's everything basic level. In terms of the culture, other countries, the culture, the rights, the history, other countries such as Canada, Switzerland also have these requirements. We still have to understand exactly how Portugal will implement this law. We don't know the details yet. We will have to see. We will have to see this law enforced.
A question from Susan Murphy. My brother and I applied through Ancestry 1 year ago through the Registro Civil in Terceira.
Yes.
Do you know what the process is like? We have no idea. We also don't know how long it might take. We had an employee of the archives turn in our papers, but have not been able to contact him to find out our status. Is there any way for us to find out where we stand?
Typically, everything is in a platform, and there are several status. Sometimes the processes move very slowly. We have been an average, at least before 3 years, very rarely an application is completed. So I would say, but typically there is a tracking number where you, with this tracking number, you can access the legal platform and check what is the status of your process. But this is really important because we track this platform 365 days a year, and it's very important to understand if there's any communication, if the authorities are requirement for any additional formality, because if you miss that, it may compromises the whole process. So it's, I think it is advantageous to have a proper legal representative that knows how to address also the incongruencies of the Portuguese public authorities and a process that it's not completely fully standardized.
And just to take a few more questions, one from Maria. I was born in Portugal and have Portuguese citizenship. However, all of my documents have expired and I have never registered my marriage or kids. Do you help with this, and what should I expect in terms of the time of the process and the cost?
Yes, we can help with this. The time, it will depend. We'll have to see if the registry has a lot of work or not. In terms of cost, this is something we'll have to understand better your process. Send us an email, and if you are within the first 20, you may benefit from a free consultation, 15-minute consultation from our part.
And another question, following up to my previous current dual citizenship American and Brazilian question, I'm also retired. Would you say coming as a retiree is easier before the final application to get permanent residency and then the permanent Portuguese citizenship?
Yes, I would say yes, because it takes much less time. Within 6 months, if everything is perfect and you also comply with documentations on your side, typically within 6 to 7 months, if there are no major delays, you could come to Portugal with a retiree visa. But with citizenship, it might take at least 3 years, but first you have to have the legal residency before you start the application. So definitely the visa, as a retiree, to obtain a visa, a D7 visa, it's an easier and quicker way to move to Portugal.
Another question, this one is from John Brands. My wife and son are Portuguese citizens, but we all live in Connecticut. I am a US citizen. I applied more than 3 years ago, and my current application is still sitting in the received box with no movement or communication from Portugal immigration. How long is it taking for applications to start being reviewed? And has the Portuguese government done anything to staff up the team that is responsible for processing these applications? Can anything be done to unstick my application to move it forward?
I don't know if anything can be done because I don't know your case in detail. I would say that the Portuguese government at least has modified and make it more digital and updated the legal platforms where these processes are. We hope that this has an impact, but we cannot give you an accurate answer, not knowing all the details of your case.
And another follow-up question from Susan Murphy. How can she get that tracking number that you have mentioned previously of her application?
You should talk, I don't know if you had a lawyer representing you, or you should talk directly with the service to whoever helped you with the process.
Another question from Basama Al-Sabti. My husband and I are Iraqi citizens, and we are planning to move to Portugal and obtain residency there. We both work at my mother's law firm and would like to explore the available visa and residence permit options for our family. We also have a 2-year-old son who would be included in our application. Could you please assist us in understanding the most suitable visa pathway and the requirements for obtaining residency in Portugal?
I would say if you can work remotely, which I don't know if it is the case, then it would be a D8 visa. For the D8 visa is something that you can work remotely in Portugal, being paid by foreign entities or individuals, And you have to show that on average you earn something like 4 Portuguese minimum wages. If the accountant doesn't fail me, it's something like 3,680 euros per month per applicant, plus 50% for a spouse if you're bringing a spouse, plus 30% per month on average for each child. I hope I clarified your answers. We were contacted by some clients with a very similar case, but if you want more details for your specific questions, please contact us and we'll be glad to assist you.
Mm-hmm. And a question from one of our clients, Beth Han. It does not appear that there will be any grandfathering for those who are already residents, but do you think it will be necessary for those who have already passed the test, the language test, to retake the exam? Is there an opportunity to only take the culture and history portion of the exam?
I would say yes, but we'll have to see in practice how the Portuguese authorities will implement this.
Mm-hmm. And just another question from Maria. What is this platform that you are referring to? I think she means the platform that we submit the...
Yes, there's a platform where you submit the citizenship application, and they do have a tracking number.
Mm-hmm. And now coming to our next question. For those who have submitted their nationality applications before the new law was published, are they protected under the 5-year rule? And is there anything that has impacted these applications with the new changes?
Those are fully protected. So the law is clear and the words of the law is expressed very expressly. They protect those that already submitted their applications. Their rights are fully protected. Those that had passed the 5-year thresholds of legal residency and submitted an application before the new law entered into force in 18th May 2026. They are fully protected. There is no doubt about this.
Mm-hmm. And how has this new law changed the rights to work or access to the public health system in Portugal? Has this had any subsequent impact on these?
I think it's very important to clarify that to the majority of the expat community won't be impacted in their daily life by this new law. They can still go to the Portuguese public educational system, the national healthcare system. They can renew their visas as they had done before. They can travel freely within the Schengen space. So there's nothing that will be changed by the implementation, the entering into force of this new law. And this is very important to clarify. After so many things bad have been said about Portugal, Portugal will still treat well those that decided to move here. Mm-hmm. And I think this is general for everybody that has this experience. So their daily life, their rights and liberties won't be impacted.
Mm-hmm. And is there any effect on the current residence permit and its renewals?
No, people will keep their rights fully. They can, and they are completely entitled to renew it as they were before. Mm-hmm. And after 5 years, they can access to something called permanent residency, which gives them the permanent status, the eternal right to reside here, as long if they comply with minimum stay requirements. So this is very important. After 5 years, they can access the right to reside here permanently if they wish to do so with minimal requirements. And after 5 years, they can also have a long-term EU residency status, which simplifies their possibilities to study, work, or retire in any other European country.
Mm-hmm. And do you anticipate that the application for the permanent residency would have changed, or it would be more difficult to get permanent residency? Or
I think from a practical point of view, there are huge delays in AIMA. So I believe it will still be a complex process, but that can be done. Mm-hmm. With no major difficulties.
And what would you say is the most practical difference in daily life and and otherwise between permanent residency and actual citizenship?
I would say eventually the possibility to reside in any other European country or to vote in some specific situations.
And would you also advise people who have already submitted their citizenship applications to apply for permanent residency to maintain their active residence while they
Yes, I would
while they wait?
advise before they have they ended their citizen before they become citizens, of course.
Now I will take some questions from the chat. I'm hearing about different timelines to acquire Portuguese citizenship for children of Portuguese citizens as well as for spouses of Portuguese citizens. Is there an official timeline by which one should expect to receive information after the application? And is there a difference in the wait time between the children versus the spouses? Does it matter what is faster, and applying for citizenship at a consulate or via an attorney in Portugal?
I think that we noticed that the acquisition of citizenship through Ancestry has been the one that takes less time. We have been seeing some processes taking less than 3 years, but at this point, the majority of processes are taking more or less 3 years. I would say that according to our experience, acquiring citizenship through marriage takes more time than acquiring through a parent. This has been our experience overall with this. I would say that it's more. I've heard of many of our clients and prospects that they're saying that they submitted their process in the consulate and for a long time never heard back from them and could not know the exact status of the application. So I would say, according to what I have been hearing until now, that it might be a better option to apply through an attorney in Portugal. But that would depend on the case, and we'll have to, and on the consulate too. But in many cases, it might be better for you to know exactly what is going on to have an attorney in Portugal.
And another question from an anonymous attendee. Does it make sense for someone who is already in their 70s to try to become a citizen when they will be in their 80s, or just keep residency?
I think it will depend. It will depend on the person or on the situation. For some, it may make sense. For other, it doesn't make sense. Sometimes even acquiring citizenship to pass to your children, if it is through Ancestry. It will depend on your case and what you want to do.
And a question from Elise Monaco. If I applied for a temporary residency status in January 2024, is that when the 10-year clock starts ticking for obtaining citizenship now?
No, it's by the time of issuance of your residency permit card. This is when the clock starts ticking.
And another question from an anonymous attendee. I submitted my documentation by marriage. It was signed for in March 2025, but do not have a tracking number. Is that how it works? That tracking happens once they spend an initial time on his file?
No, I think the tracking number is almost immediate. I don't know exactly your case. I would have to understand the details. You can come back to us and we'll try to figure out what we can find out.
Is the language test still required by very limited spaces available in Portugal? It has been very limited in the United States where I am.
No, I think there's a lot of places where you can have the test in Portugal.
In your experience, how long are spousal applications taking on average? A question from John Brands.
I would say that the average time has been 3 years and more.
I am a US citizen and my children are citizens. And I think I am a Portuguese citizen and my children are also citizens, and we all have cartão únicos. What is the process for citizenship for a spouse? My spouse has a NIF and our marriage is registered.
So we will have to understand if you are married over 3 years or not. If you are married over 5 years or more, then it is not necessary that your spouse shows that she has a connection to the Portuguese community. So the A2 level of Portuguese is waived, and also the necessity to show a strong connection to the Portuguese community. So this would be, she would have to show to present her documentation, your documentations, and the documentations of the marriage. I think this would be the most important thing. And the necessity of having an A2 level of Portuguese is waived if you are married over 6 years. And also the necessity to show a strong connection to the Portuguese community.
A question from Antonio Cunha. I have had a pending citizenship application under Article 1C for almost 3 years. It was filed by an attorney that does not seem to specialize in this area. Can your firm take over an application from another law firm?
Yes, in theory you can, under certain conditions. I think for this specific question, it's better to come to us, and we will see how can we progress.
Another question by an anonymous attendee. For renewal of residency, what are you seeing in terms of how long this is taking?
This has been quite quick. I think they start the process at a given time, but once we initiate and we present all the documentations, I think that there has been a huge improvement in the AIMA process in terms of the renewals.
John Brands has said, I think you just suggested that people can reapply through a Portuguese attorney.
No, I'm not suggesting that. I think we'll have to take a look at your case and understand what would be the best solution, talk with the consulate, never just repeating what you have done we have to understand what's going on and see what would be the best solution in each case.
Yes, I think that answers his next question as well. Can he reapply through an attorney in Portugal if his application has been sitting for more than 3 years?
We will have to understand what is happening with the previous one.
A question from E. Dias. Does the new law have an effect on taxation of income?
No, this has to be with citizenship, nothing to do with taxes.
My spouse is not a Portuguese citizen, but is an EU citizen. Does that qualify me to apply for citizenship now, in the future, or at all?
I didn't understand the question.
So
what is the...
So the spouse is an EU citizen, but is it possible for him to apply for a Portuguese citizenship?
Yes, it is, as long as you comply with the requirements. If you want to acquire through naturalization, you have to reside in Portugal for 10 years because you're not European.
Okay, I will just check the next. Why would one procure residency versus citizenship, or should residency come first?
Residency is much quicker. You can reside in Portugal perhaps within 6-7 months. Everything goes smooth without problems, and there are no major delays. Citizenship takes 3 years or more. So I think this is why, if you want to move here quick, I think the residency is the best path. And then later you can, or at the same time, you can apply for citizenship.
Another question from our client, Keith Blosser. How are documents authenticated for the residency process? Is certified documents enough? If not, how can you get the documents properly authenticated?
I don't know if I understand. There are different documents that have to be authenticated in different ways. If you're talking about foreign public documents, typically they have to be apostilles. But I don't know exactly. You can send us an email, Keith, and we'll be more than glad to answer your specific question.
And a question from Sandra Kraus. I am just starting the process to obtain citizenship through Heritage. I am in California. Is there a helpful website or contact for the correct steps to take?
You can contact us and we'll go from there.
Yes, and just as a reminder, we have put our contact details in the chat, so you can send us an email to also benefit from our free initial consultation. The next question, the consulate has sent my marriage license to Portugal over 10 years ago, but I have not been able to find a lawyer to finish my application. Can this be resumed?
We will have to understand what is going on and see how we can progress.
A follow-up to the platform question. I submitted my children's citizenship applications via the consulate in New York. How can I find the status of their applications? Is there a site for this platform that you talk about?
Yes, I think the first thing is contact directly your consulate, and they should be providing you information about this.
My spousal application is in received status. I understand it could take 3 years. Should I expect that once it moves to the next stage in the platform, I will need to resubmit documents since they will have expired? Criminal records, birth certificates, etc.
Typically, we don't expect you to resubmit documents that were submitted originally and that by the time they were submitted, they were valid. So we don't expect you to the necessity to resubmit documentation that was presented initially, and when they were presented, they were valid. You're not expected to duplicate what you already done, but it will depend if something more complex arises. I would have to understand the full detail of the case.
I have a spousal citizenship request submitted for my wife in August 2022. That application still just shows as submitted or received. Is this timeline typical? Anything to do to accelerate this?
I don't know exactly your case. I don't know if there's any problem. If they notified for anything and you didn't comply with, I think this timeline, it's not normal, but sometimes there are huge delays. So I would have to understand exactly what is going on to be able to help you.
A question from Alan White. Is there such a thing as a standalone EU citizenship? Or if you are a citizen of one EU country, are you automatically a citizen of all the others with no limitations?
Now, if you are a citizen of a new EU country, you have the rights and civil rights of an European citizen, but you are not citizen of the other European countries. But you should be entitled to work, reside, study in any other European country with an European citizenship.
We have another follow-up question. To clarify, my spouse lives in Portugal and I live in Portugal as well, but he is a citizen of another EU country, not Portuguese. So can I apply for citizenship in Portugal through his EU citizenship or no?
No. The fact that you are married to an European citizen doesn't grant you the possibility to apply to Portuguese citizenship through him. You can apply through legal residency in Portugal. If you are not European, it will be necessary and not from a CPLP country. You need to wait for 10 years of legal residency to apply to Portuguese citizenship.
We have another question. Can you summarize tax consequences for residents living in Portugal and awaiting citizenship? Is this something you help with?
Yes, we will help with that, but these are separate matters. Perhaps the US is one of the few countries that taxes the person based on citizenship and not based on residency. Once you become resident in Portugal, then you have to file taxes on your worldwide income. But there's a convention between Portugal and the US and the majority of other countries to always avoid double taxation. But if you reside here, you might have to pay taxes here in respect to your pension. We will have to check. We will have to interpret this, but there are always several mechanisms, tax credit mechanisms. So typically, if you reside in Portugal, you might end up paying taxes here. But we'll have to understand exactly your concrete situation and all the details to give you a proper legal assistance on this.
Does acquiring residency in Portugal mean you must live in Portugal permanently, or are you allowed to live in the US for part of the year as well?
So if you, there are several possibilities. If you come with a D visa to reside in Portugal, you are expected minimum at least to reside here for 6 months, but the law even says more. If you're coming to Portugal with a golden visa, you are entitled to reside as long as you want, but you can only it's only mandatory to stay in Portugal for 14 days every 2 years. So you can perfectly, if you go the golden visa route, you can perfectly reside in the US as long as you want, come to Portugal for certain days and keep residency here. If you come with a D visa, you are obliged to move your basic family life to Portugal and reside here at least for 6 months in a row in a year.
Mhm. And now we have a follow-up question. Can you tell us more about the golden visa?
So the golden visa, it's a route in the D visas, the retiree visas, the D8, where you can work remotely in Portugal. You're not required to invest any money in Portugal. With a golden visa, it's residency through investment. You are retired, you are required to invest to assess residency, but you are not obliged to reside here. Only it's minimal, the same requirements. You only have to come to Portugal 14 days every 2 years. But you can do a good investment. There are funds of Portuguese companies that you can do. You can create jobs. You can invest in some foundations related to culture and environment. And in those cases, the investment requirement is only 250,000 euros. You can invest in funds. You can do in a good proper bank. It's a question of, and here the investment done in a golden visa is an investment that should be assessed as any other financial investment in any part of the world. So you should have your financial advisor checking whether this investment is good or not for you. But since the world is a turmoil, and if you have the funds to invest, sometimes doing an investment, a safe investment in Portugal might be a good option for you in terms of investment.
And another related question, how much is the investment for a golden visa, and does real estate still count?
So now with the new law, the recent new law for the golden visa, anything real estate related, it's excluded as a possibility for golden visa investment. This is always, everything is excluded. But you can invest in funds, you can invest in funds from a good traditional Portuguese bank. The 60% of these funds have to be investment in Portuguese companies. You can also do a donation for heritage culture in the amount of 250,000 euros. But you can have the possibility to reside in Portugal and to travel freely within the Schengen space without the necessity to reside here. So for those that are not in conditions to move to Portugal, but would like to have a safe harbor here just in case for them and for their family, a golden visa is a good option. And with one golden visa investment, you can include all your children and also your parents and your in-laws. So with one investment, the whole family could have a safe harbor in Portugal and the free possibility to travel within the Schengen space.
Mhm. A question from E-Dias. Once you submit the application for citizenship for a spouse, and during the 3-4 years, do we have to travel back for interviews or other work related to the process? Will the IRN require that we return unexpectedly to do some work or fill
No, you are
additional
not
forms?
required to be in Portugal in person for interviews. This is not a requirement at this moment.
Mhm. And another question, I thought the minimum for 2-year residency on a D visa was residing here 16 out of 24 months.
This is what the law says. From practical terms, what we have seen is the authorities, if you reside here 6 months, they have not raised any problems. So what the law says is within 25 years, you should not be absent from the country 6 months in a row or 8 months total. From a practical point of view, this might change. Until now, if they see that your family life is based in Portugal and you reside here 6 years, 6 months, people have had no problem. But this might change in the future, and the authorities might be more rigorous interpreting and applying what the law says in this respect.
And the question was also, was it 6 or 16? Because I think they heard a different number, but
Yes, so within what the law says is within 24 months, 2 years, you should not be absent for the country 6 months in a row or 8 months totally. From a practical point of view, until now, we notice the authorities want to check if Portugal is really your home, not just an address, and they require that at minimum you stay in Portugal 6 months each year.
And another question from an anonymous attendee. For renewal of residency, is AIMA now asking for a declaration from the owner of the leased property as one of the documents required for renewal of residency? And he's also written, it is difficult to see what the documents are that are now required.
No, at this point, the authorities are not required this kind of documentation. But if you need professional assistance, can come back to us. We have done many processes successfully, and of course, we can assist you on that.
Another anonymous question: how do you prove you have stayed in Portugal 6 months per year?
I think they check your passport. They can see your bank details. They can see your credit card details. Then can see your utilities. Then can see if you file taxes here. Lots of different pieces.
Another anonymous question: how does this residency process occur? Can you tell us more? And can it happen through a consulate or via an attorney in Portugal?
I don't know if the attendee is referring to the visa.
Yes, I think the visa, the residency visa.
So the residency visa starts in your country of nationality or legal residency. So if you are American, the visa process would start in the US. So you start in the consulate there. You have to present a lot of documents. There are basically mainly two kinds of visas. There are other possibilities. So you can come as a retiree under a D7 visa. In this case, you have to show that you earn on average 920 euros per month, plus 50% for a spouse, plus 30% for each child. You can also come as someone working remotely in Portugal, but being paid by a foreign entity or foreign individuals. In this case, is the digital nomad visa. You have to show that on average you earn 4 Portuguese minimum wages, which is something like 3,680 euros. You can come under the D2 visa if you have a project for a startup in Portugal or a business that will benefit the country, typically places like tech, innovative projects, something related to preserve the environment are the type of projects that would be appealing to the Portuguese government. You can have also a high value activity and get a job for this activity and come under this visa. I think these would be the possibilities you have to come to Portugal. The process always starts in your country of nationality or legal residency, and then once approved, it ends here in the AIMA, which is the immigration agency here in Portugal. It's quite it's not a super complex, but it can be tricky many details, lots of formalities, and we have helped and still unstandardized with a level of discretionary powers and subjectivity, but we've held many cases. So we have a bulletproof process, and we make sure that, so we have almost 100% success tax rate, because we check, verify, make sure our clients comply with everything, and we make sure that our clients feel accompanied and supported throughout the whole process.
Mhm. And another question from an anonymous viewer. I submitted my husband's application back in April. It appears that the package has been in customs here in California since April 24th. Is this normal? And as for the tracking number, I have a confirmation number from the online payment of the application. Is this what you are referring to?
I think yes, but I don't know exactly the details. Send me an email, explain me everything, and we will try to help.
Mhm. And just as a reminder to everyone, we have put our email address in the chat. We have also put our YouTube channel. Please subscribe and also send us an email if you'd like to talk to us. We would be happy to schedule a meeting with you. And just to go over some of the last few questions around the new citizenship changes. If you are born in Portugal now, are you immediately Portuguese or not? And what does this process look like now in terms of getting your child the citizenship?
So if you are born in Portugal, you're not immediately Portuguese. It is required that at least one of your parents has been legally residing here for over 5 years to be in the position to acquire immediately the Portuguese citizenship.
Mhm. And I think you've already discussed this in passing. Is an in-person appointment required for the final approval of your citizenship, or is it not needed at all?
According to the current regime, it's not necessary an in-person interview to acquire Portuguese citizenship.
Mhm. And lastly, I would like to ask you, Dr. Sandra, what your advice would be for people who are looking to get residency and then citizenship, and with whatever they've been hearing on the news, what would your
I would emphasize that the new citizenship law didn't affect to the acquisition of citizenship through grandparentage, parents, through marriage. This law might change in the future. We see the European Union become more and more rigorous in this respect and demanding. So those that would like to acquire Portuguese citizenship because it makes sense for them for any reason, even if it's to pass to their children, I would advise them to do it now, because these laws may be more demanding in the future. Also, we notice that tendency in the visas. I believe that the retiree visa is one of the best visas to have residency in Europe, and it allows you to work immediately in Portugal, to own property without limit, to do any kind of business without any restriction. So those interested in moving to Portugal or acquire Portuguese citizenship, for those that this makes sense, I would advise them to move sooner than later, because we anticipated that the regimes will be more difficult and more complex.
Mhm. And I would also like to thank our viewers and the organization for hosting this as well. And we look forward to hearing from our viewers. We would be happy to assist you. We've dropped our contact details, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we look forward to hearing from you soon and further discussions with you.
As a final note, I would advise you, if you have concrete questions or concrete situations, feel free to reach out to us. We have a YouTube with lots of useful information, so please subscribe. I will be asking my team to put, we have a budget calculator and a mechanism that allows you to understand whether you meet the visa requirements or not. In Portugal, you can have a much better pace of life, which a much more affordable cost of living, but mostly you have quality of life, and clients tell me again and again they are living a happier and healthier life here. So leaving that, I will ask again my team to leave the YouTube and to leave the budget calculator, because you can understand how much money you could spare in Portugal. On top of this, you could live a more peaceful life with a much better quality of life. We have clients telling us again and again, you don't know, Sandra, in just a few weeks, how much better we feel. So it's a pleasure. It's a great pleasure to do this with you, Marisa. Thanks for doing this with us. And anyone that has questions or particular situations, even related to inheritance in Portugal, which we also do a lot, or moving to Portugal, or visas or taxes, please come back to us. It will be our pleasure to assist you. Thank you again, Marisa. Thank you again, Alex and Pedro and Angela Simões and PALCUS for having us. Thank you.
Bye-bye.